Hey guys, so it should be day 4 of our introduction week. Today should be Thursday, and I will be going over PA history and what we're going to do all year, assignments, grading, and what the percentages are, and we're going to look at what content we're going to cover as well. In addition to that, we will be completing a bell ringer, and I think that's it. I won't have an assignment outside of the bell ringer for today. And then tomorrow we get into chapter 1 and we start. So what I'm going to do for the class preview is screen record my PowerPoint. Okay guys, I'm going to start going over Pennsylvania history and what we're going to do for the year. Like I said, we will start with a bell ringer. First question is, why did you take this class? This is an elective. Obviously, I'm biased. I like Pennsylvania history. I like history in general. I would have liked anything. But there's other classes. Why PA history versus, let's say, a micro or macroeconomics or ancient history or psychology or sociology and so on? Why this class? Did it just so happen to be that way? Or were you interested in maybe learning about the coal region or something? So let me know, and you're going to be completing that in a Google form. The other part is, or the other question is, what is your favorite part of history? So what do you think? For my kids that have been in my class, I've asked them this, and they give me similar answers often. So it's almost like a trap because I know what you're probably going to say. Um, and I'll leave it at that. I'll comment and give feedback on what your answers are later. So let me know what you think. The other one that I have at the end of this PowerPoint, but what grade do you think what grade do you think you're going to get in this class? It's a tough one to ask, especially if you haven't had me before, especially if we haven't gone through a chapter together for you to do different readings, projects, tests, quizzes, know my style of teaching, what our readings are they even interesting readings? So it is a tough question to answer, I think, adequately. You're just basically guessing, but let me know what you think. So answer that in a bell ringer. It will be on Google Forms, like I said, and I will post the link. But let's move on. So for this video, what I'm navigating through is just a class description, class goals, why we should even study history, what my requirements are, my grading, and then the actual content outline. So let's start with the class description. So what we're going to do is examine Pennsylvania's history from the pre-Columbian era to the present. Our goals in general, because they always change, right? Each lesson we're going to have different objectives, but in general, to learn and think historically for a broader understanding of Pennsylvania and its history. In addition to that, we're also going to attempt to improve on your critical thinking skills, your writing skills, and your oral communication skills. And how do we do that? Well, with your critical thinking skills, we're going to look at a ton of different perspectives. We're always going to analyze things. We will use some higher level, higher order thinking for a bunch of different events, a bunch of different philosophies, and so on. For your writing skills, we will do constant short answers, and you'll also have essays to work on. Oral communication skills, well, we will do projects like what we're doing now, like a screen record, or if you make your own video, if you make your own PowerPoint and you add audio to it. Because you're sitting at a laptop looking at me now, you will have to talk at some point, make a project similar to what I'm doing. The ones in class, they'll just get to go up front and speak. But all right, let's move on. So why should we study history in general? Like, you took this class, maybe you just like history, and maybe not necessarily PA history, but you just like social studies in general. Well, I'm going to start with a quote from one of my favorite historians. He's somewhat controversial, but I think it's because he's not really a textbook historian. He more so looks at individual people's perspectives. So it's very different, but I like him a lot. It's very interesting. The quote goes, all history represents a point of view. History is always a selection from an infinite number of facts, and everybody makes the selection differently, based on their values and what they think is important. Since it's not possible to be objective, you should be honest about that. We need to emphasize those things which can make students more active citizens and more moral people. So when we look at PA history, kind of like what he's saying, there's an infinite number of things. We do follow a textbook, so they do give us a good guideline of what to follow, and we do have our own standards. But we'll be looking at even more than that. We'll be looking at a ton of stuff, some good stuff, some ugly stuff, and so on. And probably by the end of chapter 2, you'll kind of get the feel of things, what kind of, I guess, history teacher I am and what I like to present. All sorts of ideas. Now, why else should we study history? I made this long list just very quickly. You can even say that a lot of these points that I have down, they're not just exclusive to social studies or history. You can say this with a lot of classes, but I truly, truly believe in this, especially for the kids that really buy in, really buckle down, and really go above and beyond. Well, develop critical thinking, foster informed citizenship, right? That's like the bottom line of public education, to make good citizens. Develop reading skills, hopefully. Improve public speaking, improve chronological thinking, improve your writing skills, develop researching and investigation skills, especially when we do our research projects at the end of each chapter. Improve information organization, learn to evaluate and evaluate informative sources, learn to discriminate between facts and opinions, discuss different viewpoints, of course, and this is where like my style comes in, because we'll look at ton of different issues, and this side says this side says this, and so on. Improve discussion and debating skills, again, especially for our class. Make connections to the present, recognize patterns from the past to the present, use critical reasoning and evidence-based evaluation, study and analyze significant issues and ideas, improve awareness, self-reflect on morals, empathy, and justice. But if I was in class with you guys, I could and I would go over like every one of those and kind of back it up. I'm a true believer in this. But to sum it all up for you, if you just don't want to hear me blabbing on, overall, we just want our students to become well-rounded citizens that have a richer and more engaged worldview and better understand how the world works and how we got to this point. So that's how I just want to sum it up for you guys. So I'll move on quick. That was a lot. So the requirements for this class, since we're just on the laptop and I'll have everything for you, just show respect to everybody. Myself, if there's other teachers online, because some of the other teachers are also on my Google Classroom, and your other classmates, especially when we get into debates and discussions. Like, that's totally fine if you have almost exact opposite view on, let's say, an issue. Like, let's say the Civil War. That's some an event that kind of gets some controversy. It was caused by this or that, or the war was about this or that. Like, that's fine. We always have to make sure our opinions are backed up in facts first, but it's totally reasonable to disagree, and as long as we're respectful. Another one's be ready to learn and work during class time. Take it serious. You get what you put in. The other one is have all required materials, but we can skip that, right? You're on a laptop watching me. We're fine. Everything's going to be online for Google Classroom. The last one is cheating and plagiarism will not be tolerated. I take that very serious, especially because it's a lot easier to catch you online cheating than in person with like a pen or something, because I can just look at everything, I can compare them, I can copy and paste a sentence in Google and find out where you got it from. So please don't cheat, take it serious, you will get a 0. Grading. At the end of each one of my video lessons, I should have a Google form that'll have a couple practice questions and some short answer questions as well, that you'll have to explain or elaborate on a concept that we went over. So that is 20%. Halfway through each chapter, you'll also get a quiz. That'll be worth 10%, but you're probably only have 2 marking periods. So even though it's the smallest percentage out of all my grading, one quiz is 5%, so it's not insignificant, right? Same with the tests. We'll probably have 2 tests marking period. That's 30%, so each one will be 15%. That's a big chunk. Classroom participation, I already went over that in another video. Remember to comment on things, do your bell ringers, do your review questions, do your readings, and then answer the questions about the readings. Make sure we're appropriate online on my Google Classroom, and that will be your grade that you fill out in a rubric, and then I do as well. We do it together and then combine our score. Last one are for the projects. Whether this is an infographic, a meme, if we have to make like a propaganda poster, write an essay, do a PowerPoint, a video, a podcast, whatever it is, because I'm still trying to see what I can do on Google Classroom for you guys. It's another big chunk, 25% of your grade. It's almost as much as the tests. So these, we take them serious. One of the best ways to learn something, if I'm going over, again, let's say Gettysburg or child laborers like the Breaker Boys, if we're going over anything, one of the best ways to learn is for you to research on your own and develop your own project. Okay, it's essentially hands-on. It's like a hands-on experience. It's a hands-on approach that you're actually using the information and creating something yourself. It's higher level thinking, and it's one of the best ways you guys can learn. So it should be awesome. I'm excited. Remember, you can check out student work to look at other people's projects. People have done great stuff. It's been fantastic. All right, in the last slide, content outline. I used to have a lot more for this, but I cut this down. I don't want to make a super long video, but chapter 1 is PA geography. This definitely sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about, because geography basically is why we have the history we do in the places that we do. You have to think, like, look at where we're from, in the core region. Okay, it has a super rich history as an energy resource, tons of people there. And then when we move on to, let's say, oil, well, everybody that can get out can. Then you're left with, what we have. So that is why things are the way they are. Okay, so this definitely is an important chapter. I know some kids are like, oh, geography, great, I'm going to learn about rocks or whatever. It's not that big of a deal, and we'll move through it relatively quick, and is key for everything else. Chapter 2 are the early inhabitants, so we're looking at the Native Americans in Pennsylvania. Then we'll look at the colonization and creating a new nation, so like the Revolutionary War, okay, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and so on. Super important documents, right? Chapter 5 is more so the Civil War, more so Gettysburg. We'll also talk about the Gilded Age, because it's a time that we've advanced so quick, right? We have the industrial era, we're mass producing everything. The US is literally how China is today. Like, we are just exporting goods all across the planet. We are a huge, huge, huge provider of goods, but work isn't really safe. It's not necessarily the fault of employers, not necessarily, because this is all happening so fast we don't work out any of the kinks, like for safety. But we eventually get to that here, when we start having child labor laws and stuff, because instead of watching me at your house on your internet, on your laptop, probably be working in a mine for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. The average age where we're from was 9, and you make $2 a week. Like, it's probably nice that you get to watch this video instead of doing that. So we've came a long way, and we started to solve these problems in chapter 6. Chapter 7, it just goes over the world wars and basically just Pennsylvania's contributions to the wars. So another quick one. Chapter 8 is PA government, and we will go over that, but I still just want to fill in the cracks. All too often, history classes, they get to like World War II, or if we're lucky, maybe they get to Vietnam, then that's about it. Like, nothing else happened. So I want to fill in the gaps. I'm going to maybe list like 70 different topics that you guys can research on your own, and that'll basically be our final project to fill in the gaps, whether it's an oil spill or a nuclear almost meltdown and almost a nuclear catastrophe, whether it's a Penn State scandal and anything else you can think of in Pennsylvania. So we will fill in the gaps, we will cover to present time, and that'll be your final project. So that is what our year looks like. All right, that's all I have for this PowerPoint. Alrighty, so remember to complete those bell ringer questions. There should be a Google form link posted in the description for the day. Other than that, guys, let's get started tomorrow. Thanks for watching the video. See ya.